Hello everyone, it's Captain Sensible here. So Mr. Smelly set me up on an open top bus here. It's really exciting, and he's asked me to re-record his famous theme tune live on this bus. It's going to be spectacular. So I'm just warming up here, playing a few chords and getting ready, warming up to the melody. Down, 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 down.
Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. So today we're going to be having a look at my top 10 fragrances for summer 2019, and I'm going to throw in 2 or 3 honourable mentions as well. We're looking for fresh fragrances, maybe a lot of citrus is going to be involved in this video, and ones that you might want to wear on your summer holiday, maybe with a bit of a tropical theme. Things that make you smell clean, revived and uplifted in the heat. Of course, I've recently done a spring list. There's not that much difference, a spring fragrance, summer one. My list would change from day to day. These are the 10 or so that came into my mind this time. By the way, I have spoken to the hospitals shortly after a long conversation with the police, and apparently Captain Sensible may pull through. So luckily, after that very unfortunate accident, maybe he might be back soon, so fingers crossed for him. Okay, let's have a look then. The first one I want to mention then is ALVAREZ Gomez Bosque de Primavera. This is a beautiful citrus aromatic scent, extremely inexpensive. You can pick up, I think it's an 80ml bottle for under £20 in the UK. Very nice melange of citrus notes, a little bit of greenness, and just an all-round lovely refreshing fragrance for any occasion. So that is well worth checking out. Next up in the honourable mentions then, we're going to go for this one, ANIMALE Sport. So ANIMALE and ANIMALE, I think, are 2 different fragrances from this house. One of them smells like one of the Thierry Mugler ones. I think it's pure malt. This is nothing like that, but it's a really nice, again, citrus, aromatic, sporty kind of fragrance. Very, very inexpensive. I've listed out some of the notes here, in fact, for this one, and they include, although they are, C notes, bergamot, peach, woody notes, amber, vetiver and sandalwood. Some people online actually comparing this to Creed's Jardin d'Amalfi. It's not quite as amazingly high quality as that, but it gives you an idea. It's got this really nice, fresh, fruity and slightly peachy, slightly kind of sweet, fruity vibe about it. Very much unisex for me, and a really sporty smelling fresh fragrance with nice performance. I've got through a hell of a lot of my bottle. Sometimes I was spraying it on the sheets of my bed in hot weather, that kind of thing, but I do wear it on myself as well, and I actually really enjoy that one now. So moving on to the third and final honourable mention, we are going to have the inevitable, really, Bright Neroli from Ferrari, another superb inexpensive fragrance. You can see how much I've used it, and it's just that I've kind of used it so much that I need to wear something else for a change now, that I won't be wearing it as much as the ones in the top 10 proper this summer. But compared to Tom Ford's Neroli Portofino sometimes, and there is a similarity, but to me this one's more obviously citrusy and orangey, with a nice combination of that and musk. Very, very high quality and amazing value. I would say a lot of fragrance fans out there really should have that one in their collection if you like fresh citrus fragrances. So let's get into the list proper. Mixture of designers and niche, and at number 10 we're going to have Artisan Pure from VARVATOS, a really a beautiful citrus aromatic scent, similar to XERJOFF's Neo, which I might have put in the list if I owned it, but I only have a sample from Fragrance Samples UK, which I recommend as the top place to get samples around the world. Artisan Pure, lovely bergamot, a nice kind of green leafy petitgrain feel in there, and there's a sweetness about this one as well, and a lovely muskiness underneath. Very, very beautiful fragrance, and just so juicy and fresh. And if you spray that on a white sheet, on a white shirt on a summer's evening after a day in the sun, you know, a lot of the really expensive niche ones in this list wouldn't necessarily make you smile anymore. So a beautiful fragrance from VARVATOS, Artisan Pure, highly recommended. Number 10 for me. Number 9, the order in this list is very unimportant. The number 1 and the number 10, there's not much difference. I love them all, but I've gone for the position of 9 for Lemon Line from the house of Mancera. So as the name suggests, there is a lot of lemon in this one. You've also got orange and lavender, white floral notes, amber, there's geranium, white musk and oak moss, and I would say it reminds me a bit of a lime smell. I used to think it was called lemon lime, but it's called lemon lime. Weird name. Beautiful, long-lasting kind of beast mode citrus fragrance, and if you like lemony smells, this will appeal. There's more to it than that. There's a sort of sweetness and a muskiness and white floral notes. If you love Cedrat Boise, one of my favourites from Mancera, but you want something even more citrus centric, this one is a little bit more outright lemony, although it does have probably some similar ingredients, giving it a similar long lasting aspect, which I really like, and a certain sweetness. Very unisex, that one, and very, very beautiful. So a lovely niche fragrance from the house of Mancera. Moving on then, that was number 8, so that was number 9, so we're moving on to number 8, and my choice here doesn't get much talk at all in Fragcom, and this is Eau de Guerlain from the house of Guerlain. First released in 1974, a really classic eau de cologne style fragrance with a gentlemanly kind of feel as well, which means I really like it. Much more of a classic fragrance than the other ones I've mentioned. You've got the usual kind of bergamot and lemon in the opening. There's some rose, basil, patchouli, a little bit of depth and some oak moss in this one. Very dry actually, not sweet, and very, very classy. I could have mentioned Eau de Cologne Imperial from Guerlain, but this one's a more recent pickup for me. It's around about the £70 mark for a 100ml bottle, I think, or is it 100? I think it's a 100ml bottle. Really, really classy fragrance. Very, very good in longevity, but not massive in projection. Very dry, very aromatic, some greenness in there, and a bit of an old school vibe, but not to the extent that it should be off-putting. Classy and gentlemanly, and yet very fresh, and with one of the best lemony, natural citrus openings I've ever smelled. So Guerlain, Eau de Guerlain, highly recommended for summer, I think. Moving on then, that one was number 7. We're now on to number 8, something completely different, and it's from Guerlain again, and I sort of thought, well, maybe I shouldn't put 2 by any house, but I thought, no, I'll just be honest about what I really want to wear this summer, and if it's 2 or 3 by the same house, I left out another house that I kind of like, so be it. This one kind of almost like the 21st century version of the same thing, L'Homme Idéal Cologne. So if you were to imagine a really nice fresh cologne for the 21st century, not with the slightly stuffy and austere feel of the other one there, this would be it. Juicy lemonade, really, really natural, fresh, fruity lemonade, a little bit of sweetness, and a crucial note in this one of bitter almond, done so skillfully and blended in with the freshness that it's a real pleasure to wear. Takes the almond note from the original L'Homme Idéal from Guerlain, mixes that in with a juicy lemonade freshness, decent longevity, great prices online for that one, and a superb fragrance. Again, most of these could be unisex, it tends to often be that way with fresh ones, but it's marketed to men. L'Homme Idéal Cologne, I'm loving that one. Next up in the list then, that one was number 7, so we're on to number 6, and again I'm going to talk about a house that I've been mentioning a lot recently in my videos, which I really like, and it's the house of XERJOFF. This is their CASAMORATI line, and the fragrance in question is Fiero. Fiero has sometimes been described as like Dior's Eau Sauvage on steroids, which got me interested. Beautiful citrus opening, again, greenness, some herbal elements, a little bit of mint in this one, and a really, really long-lasting fragrance indeed that projects well. Also classic feel on this one again, so if you like your classic old school fragrances like Dior's Eau Sauvage, but you sort of want a niche version of that, a little bit more longevity than the modern version of Dior's Eau Sauvage, Fiero from the CASAMORATI line from XERJOFF, an absolute favourite of mine at the moment. Love that bottle design. I've got a little 30ml bottle there, and it looks really classy. Moving on then, the next one, we're at number 5 already. It's one of my favourite houses, you might be able to guess. It's ACQUA di Parma, FICO DIAMALFI, that means figs from the Amalfi region. And fig, certainly in the way that it's used in this fragrance, has a bit of a peachy smell. So again, if you mix a bit of a peachy smell with a really, really lovely, vibrant citrus freshness, then that peachy element gives it a little bit of a more tropical summer holiday feel than just your simple aromatic citrus fragrances. Lovely kind of crisp cedarwood in the base. I get great longevity on this one, and really a happy summer holiday kind of fragrance, but because that smell is so likable and inoffensive, no one could dislike it, and yet unique, it would actually be a great signature scent, I think, just for average work situations, in my humble opinion. But it also has that really bright smile on your face kind of summery feel. So Fico di Amalfi from the wonderful house of ACQUA di Parma. Next up then, a bit of a weird one here because I just mentioned it. I'm going with Dior's Eau Sauvage. I've even placed it above FLERO, so they are very similar. I'm lucky enough to have a vintage formula of Eau Sauvage, and I just reach for it probably even more than this because it's the original, it's the classic. My vintage one lasts okay, it's still not beast mode. Lovely, beautiful citrus crispness, famous for using the note of hedione. It was created in 1966, this one, by Edmund Rudnitzer, and hedione is sort of similar in the smell to jasmine. It's sort of a kind of a beast mode molecule that they take from jasmine or something like that, and it's a really, really popular note. I think it's in Aventus. It's an ingredient really in fragrances, and apparently it has a somewhat aphrodisiac effect on women. I haven't noticed that so far, but never mind. The smell is exquisite, one of the best citrus aromatics ever. The modern version's still very good if you are lucky enough to find a vintage one. If the smell's held up, it is an absolute cracker. So Dior's Eau Sauvage. Number 3 already. Again, fans of the show here, both of you, regular viewers, will be aware that I'm rather fond of this one. GORSE from Laboratory Perfumes. It's famous for smelling extremely similar to Creed's Virgin Island Water. That means two main things stand out, lime and coconut. There's other exquisite stuff in there too. Gorse is a flower or plant that smells similar to coconuts. Who knows if the company meant to copy this one? I fancy they may well have done. I love Virgin Island Water. At the moment I don't own it. Sometimes I borrow Claire from the Smurfy Girly Channels one, but this is every bit as good to my nose, and you can get it for around about £65 for 100ml. Beautiful lime and coconut, kind of a tropical feel. The original fragrance Virgin Island Water also apparently has a bit of a rum kind of note. You probably don't, I never pick up on that massively, but I do pick up on an exquisite aroma overall. Perfect for spraying on that white shirt after a day in the sun on a summer holiday, or frankly really good for the office too, because it's so likeable, so crisp, and so unique actually compared to other citrus scents out there, unless you're talking about the fact that this and the Creed one are not unique because they're very similar to one another, but the actual concept when they came out with it was brilliant. So that's Gorse. We're on to number 2 already, and we're going back to the house of XERJOFF. It's Renaissance, 1861 Renaissance. This is so beautiful and one of the best, most natural smelling citrus scents I own. Again, there's mint in this one, similar to FLERO, and it's got really, really nice juicy freshness in the top. There's a kind of tangerine or mandarin element in this one, along with loads of other citrus notes, and I've often described it, perhaps not in the most flattering way, as a sort of a fruit salad kind of smell. And it does have that, and I mean that in a really good way. It's got this really juicy natural citrus thing about it, along with some crisp cedar in the base. Unlike FLERO, which has a slightly classic feel, this has nothing retro about it. It's very much of the 21st century. Great performance, and one of the juiciest, most magnificent citrus fragrances out there. Unfortunately a little bit expensive, but kind of worth it. So already we're at position number 1. It's the legendary famous one that Mr. Smelly loves, and that's Essenza, Cologniaessenza from ACQUA di Parma, my favourite citrus aromatic fragrance, and one of my favourite fragrances ever, full stop. Fantastic neroli, tangerine in this one. There's rose and patchouli. There's a hidden depth that you might not expect from a Cologniaessenza. It's very soapy. If you like neroli Portofino from Tom Ford, it's got some of that soapy cleanness, but it's got a bit more character and depth to it, and great performance. So a really, really classy Italian chic fragrance, and if I could just have one fragrance forever and it had to be this, that would be upsetting for me given my sort of hobby and line of work here, but and I could almost live with it. So Cologniaessenza, my absolute favourite from ACQUA di Parma, one of my top 2 or 3 fragrances ever. Let me know what you thought of my list. What did I miss out? Of course, there must be hundreds of other great ones that I should have put in, but these are the ones I own and I'm looking forward to wearing. Don't forget, if you're interested, I've got the Patreon Private Members Club where I give you an extra video every week. The most recent one was a day in the life of Mr. Smelly. How exciting. And there's tons of other stuff now uploaded in there that you can watch if you join up today. It's only $2 a month, extra video a week, really nice community that we've got going in there too. I'd love to see you in there. If not, I'll see you in the next video on YouTube. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. See you next time. Bye bye.